you take it out of the herd and it's time to break it in. What age? What work?
Yeah, well, you know, that's the thing. I would like to see the day when there is no breaking in anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That from the get-go, right to the end of the horse's life, but say after that first ride, that it was all a gradual learning process and interesting for the horse. You know, some of the best horses and some of the old horsemen, you'll hear the stories of people who, I just laid that saddle crossing. You know, I was saddling up my horse and the foal come up, so I just stuck the saddle pad on, and it just happened by chance, you know. And you know, then I stuck the saddle on just because, you know, the horse looked like it was interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it becomes this gradual process. You know, and you can do that at 1 year old or 6 months old. Put something on his back, get him used to it, rub it all over him, and you know, you're picking up their feet when they're a few months old. Just teach them to pick up their feet so they can do their feet. You know, you should be able to do all that sort of stuff. So you do this as a gradual process, and what happens one day, you lay across them, and when they're big enough and strong enough, then you'll lay across them and stay on there and let it, you know, get them to hold some weight and let them walk off while you're laying on it. It's all this beautiful gradual process. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't be, oh, I put him out there, alright, he's 2 years old, let's round him up, get the motorbike out there, put him in a yard, and okay, we'll saddle them up and we'll sit on there until they stop bucking or until they settle down. It's like, that should never happen. That works okay for a percentage of horses, but you're going to come across a certain percentage of horses where that does not work. And they're going to be annoyed with the person for the rest of their life. And it doesn't matter how good a horse it is, conformation-wise, if he's got an attitude that he doesn't like people because of the way he's been approached, it's going to affect his movement. And if he's not moving right, it's going to affect his muscle development. So there he's never going to reach any potential. So if we get up there, just stick this stuff on him and hop on him and ride him around, we've just undermined everything. All the beauty that we ever want out of a horse. You know, we're supposed to be connected with these guys. Like, most people ride horses and get into horses because they love them. So why would you force yourself upon something you love?
So why do we impose our own time frames on horses?
I don't know. I think it's the dollar. You know, the money. Maybe it's our lifestyle too, you know, because we're in a modern society now.
Is that a reality though? Is that acceptable? I mean, it's what's done. I mean, people are under time frames. People need to pay their bills if that's their chosen profession.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with that?
You know, no, because we've got to keep the world turning. But if you want something done right, you go to a specialist on it, and this is the horse trainer. You know, there should be more demand for us now. You know, our profession's been around for as long as some of the oldest professions in the world.
Yep.
Is it plumbing?
I think it is plumbing. Roads.
Or building.
Yeah.
Masonry.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Stone masons.
So, you know, horse trainers, this is one of the oldest professions. We should be in more demand now than ever. You know, not because you know, they've invented the car and everybody thought the horse trainer's out, but no. Now, because of our lifestyle, we're lucky enough to be in a time where we can choose to ride our horse because we love it, and not because we have to get to school or work. You know, we use a car for that. But the problem is we're not getting that experience, and this is where we need the horse trainer to help us with that. You know, and we need horse trainers that have got the experience. So, what was the question?
Well, they say we're talking about, you know, time frames on horses, and we impose our time frames because of our lifestyles. And you know, so if you're training a horse, you're a trainer, and you're only going to work it, you know, on a Saturday and a Sunday, and you put 8 days into it over 4 weeks, and then you send it back. Are you really doing the horse a favour?
No.
Are you doing the owner a favour?
No. If you're stopping and starting, like, horses learn by consistency. And that consistency, you know, ideally it's brought through the whole herd, the whole thing when the horse has come up through its life, and you bring it in for some training. That needs to be done in a row, you know. We shouldn't have to be pushing the horses so hard that we've got to give them days off. Yes, give them days off for feet. It really, I think most of the time the day off is for the trainer, just for them to relax and debrief a little bit. It helps the horse a bit sometimes, if they've been going through a busy learning period. But if we're spelling them because they're physically getting too sore, you're working them too hard. The training is supposed to be really horse training. What we are supposed to be teachers. We're teaching the horse. The trainer, it's an easy job. Okay, I better talk about that. Like, we're horse teachers. A horse trainer is someone who just a gym exercise, like a racehorse trainer. That's correctly named. So they train the horse to physically get stronger. So that they're trainers. We, who teach horses to be able to get ridden, to soften, to collect properly, we're teachers, not trainers. There's an element of training in there because of the physical side, but a major focus should always be on the teaching of the horse. So, if you put gaps in there, maybe you're pushing too hard, which is more training.
The saying wet saddle blankets make good horses.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that in relation to both the horse and how that has a correlation then to the trainer.
Yeah, you bet. It's true. No, that's a good saying. It does, and it doesn't mean you have to just go out there and flog them around until they're wet. But what it means is you've got to have some miles under your belt. For the horse. And there's most people out there now are riding horses that are green, that are unsafe. A green horse is an inexperienced horse, and if you're just a weekender who's doing this for fun and recreation, because that's the way society is now, you just get that time on the weekend. You don't want it. You shouldn't be riding a green horse. The trainer, if you go to work, get some money together, get it to somebody who's going to put some good miles on that horse. Now, so it's not green anymore. And what we're talking about, good miles, like I was brought up on with stockmen. So there was a lot of stockmen out there. They could ride anything. Okay, stay on anything. Spent a lot of hours in the saddle, and they look. They're a bit funny. They'd be riding along, rolling a cigarette, reading a newspaper, whatever. They're just amazing, at a canter, moving some cows. But they could stay on anything and look very comfortable at it. But it didn't make them a good rider. So to me, that's just sitting on a horse. They could sit on anything, but they couldn't influence a horse to do fly changes, to get its hind under it and to stop properly, or do an awesome turn or a spin. Influencing the horse is a good rider. It's a horseman. You've got to be a horseman. There's a difference. Just sitting on a horse isn't enough. So when you're doing, getting the wet saddle blankets, saddle pads, you've got to be thinking about everything you do. If you go out trail riding and you just shut your brain off and ride, you're not learning anything. But if you think, that's a little bit stiff, I'll soften it. If my horse isn't picking up its foot properly, then I'll just try and encourage it to pick up its foot. Or maybe my rhythm's not right. And you're always thinking, is there too much contact in the seat, too much contact in the stirrups? Am I balanced properly? All that, you're thinking about it all the time because you want to become a better horseman. Somebody who just sits on a horse is looking at the scenery and thinking about what they're having for lunch. That doesn't make you a better horseman. So you can get as many wet saddle pads as you like. It's not going to do you any good.
So that's the difference, though, between, say, a rider who sends a horse off to a trainer for 4 weeks and then brings it back and then just rides a green horse, versus a horseman and a proper trainer that's actually going to put the work into the horse to make it a safe horse and a willing partner. Yeah,
definitely. You want that, and the willing partner thing, it's something that gets said a fair bit, but I don't think people really get it. You've got to develop the heart and desire in the horse. See, in what we do with horses, and we have to be careful of it, when you become a good horse trainer and you know how to get a lot out of a horse, they'll actually put in more than what they physically should do sometimes. I've got a little horse who's got a bit of a weak left stifle, so I'd really love to spin him. But if I don't warm him up right and spin him too soon, he'll hurt himself. But he would do that for me. He would put in. I had a horse once, we were moving some cattle, and I wanted to get across a creek, and it said it didn't want to go across the creek. I said, no, we're going across the creek. He said, no, I don't want to go across the creek. Yes, we're going across the creek. And he said, okay. We went across the creek, and it was a bit of water, about, 4 or 5 inches deep, nice, smooth, sandy, flat bottom. It wasn't. It was quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
We trod in that. We sank that horse up to its hips, its back legs up to its hips, and it pulled itself out. It clawed itself out. It was only a short crossing, but it pulled a lot of muscles in the back of that horse. It got out the other side, and I thought to myself, damn, that horse told me that. I should have paid more attention. You know, if your good horse who you know tries for you says that's too hard, or maybe we shouldn't do that, you best listen to it. So as you become a good horseman, you've got to listen to your horses a bit more, you know, because they will put in more than what they should sometimes, because they are amazing animals. They will put in, they will give their heart and soul if you approach it the right way. So careful not to ask them for it too many times.